Good afternoon, everybody. I hope you're all well out there. We know there's lots happening with the COVID situation. Seems like we're trying to get our lives back to normal. But unfortunately, we've not been able to meet personally, but we wanted to keep up the momentum and bring out some interesting new topics and capabilities for Open in SoCal. So today, we're very lucky. We have a young, up-and-coming gentleman, an investment banker who's now an entrepreneur. His name is Saad Shahzad. He's worked at Goldman. He's come up through the corporate ranks, and he's now working as the GM for a new division at Clutter. So I'm going to turn it over to him. And the topic today is going to be how to bring a startup mentality inside of your current corporate environment, or how to reinvent yourself in your current business environment. With that, I'd like to welcome Saad Shahzad. Hi, Saad. Thanks for joining us today.
Hey, Farouk. Thanks for having me. Hope you and your family are staying safe.
Trying to. Thank you. So, Saad, what we wanted to talk a little bit about today was, given all your experiences, and we're on some interesting times, it'd be kind of cool to understand from your perspective, what are some of the things, based on your previous learnings and what you're doing today in your business, share some of your stories. How are you guys surviving in this environment?
Yeah, absolutely. Farouk, I'd say that 2 months ago, it was utter panic and chaos. We didn't exactly know how the events that were unfolding very rapidly were going to affect our business. And I would say that the headline here is that we were lucky, and we just found ourselves on kind of the right side of the equation here. So at Clutter, we have two businesses. We have a consumer storage business, which is an on-demand physical storage business. We come to your home, we pack your items, we photograph and catalog them, store them in our warehouses. And whenever you need something back, you log in, click on a photo, and we'll deliver it within 48 hours. About a year ago, we started working on a new product called curbside pickup and delivery. It had nothing to do with COVID-19, and it had everything to do with us trying to figure out a way to reduce the cost of operating our supply chain, which includes labor, it includes warehouses, and it includes a fleet of vehicles. So we said, hey, maybe we'll get the consumer to do some of the work for us, and both parties won. We released this product about 2 months ago, and I got to tell you, the timing was spooky. It had, again, nothing to do with COVID-19, but as you can imagine, two things were happening. The first is that with the stay-at-home orders, folks weren't able to drive to self-storage facilities.
Right.
And the second is that as folks like you and I are spending more time at home and finding creative ways to make that home office and find some additional space for the kids to play, it creates need for additional storage. And so that curbside product is seeing a big spike in demand and doing pretty well. The second side of our business is enterprise storage. We operate a third-party logistics business where if you're a business and you need your items warehoused and then fulfilled, we can offer those type of services. We started that business actually about a year ago as well, and I'd love to tell the audience a little bit more about how I was able to be more of an entrepreneur within Clutter and launch that business.
Sure.
But that business is doing fairly well because as the world started kind of shutting down, retailers and small businesses had closed their doors. Distribution centers were prioritizing essential goods like food and medicine. All this non-essential freight out there, like TVs, furniture, consumer products, they had to sit somewhere. And so our warehousing business is seeing a really nice spike in demand as well. We're growing about 120% month over month.
Wow, that's excellent.
And so
go ahead. Sorry, go ahead.
No, I was going to say, I'd love to share a little bit of my journey on kind of how I came about launching this business within Clutter, and hopefully, your audience kind of can take some nuggets from it. I'd say that the kind of headline here is pattern recognition. And as I was leading the sales org and the customer service org at Clutter, we started seeing that businesses were hacking our consumer product. They were signing up, and brands like Away were using us to deliver luggage to Nordstrom's. And so I was very curious. I picked up the phone. I called the COO of Away and said, hey, where did you find us? And how did you hear about us, and why are you using us? There's a large, warehousing industry out there, and we kind of are generally pretty bad. And so as we kind of put together that hypothesis, we went to the CEO and we said, hey, here's kind of the idea. Here's what we think the market uh, uh, size is pretty big. We think that there's an existing problem and we have the core competency to be able to deliver a better solution.
Very cool. Can you hear me there? Okay, great. We just lost you for a second. You're back now. So that's really interesting. So the pattern recognition you're talking about. So and that's great. So basically, you're saying inject a level of curiosity, continue to explore what's happening inside of your environment, trends, or anything that's coming your way, and that's a way for you to potentially find a way out of a difficult situation. Am I correct in that?
That's exactly right, Farouk. I'll share another story of some of our friends who have been extremely nimble in the situation as well. And I think that while Clutter found itself on the right side of the equation, I think that their business found themselves on the wrong side of the equation. But
Sure.
that doesn't, necessarily mean that you kind of throw your arms up and you say, hey, I'm kind of out of luck here. You kind of have to make your own luck, and so this friend of mine, he is in the business of selling towels and other linen products to hospitality.
Right.
And of course, as we've all been reading, the hospitality industry has been significantly impacted by COVID-19. And, I think occupancy rates are down to 10% at most hotels, which, used to be upwards of 70%. So he kind of saw overnight his entire business basically come to a full stop. And these hotels were canceling the purchase orders, and every one of us has got bills to pay. So he started thinking about, well, okay, I have an existing supply chain, right? I work with factories and partners out in Southeast Asia, and what if we could maybe pivot? What if from buying towels, we could start buying face masks and gowns and disinfectants?
Right.
And it was funny because even back then, as he was making this pivot, it definitely seemed like there was still a little bit of back and forth out there in the ether on, are face masks good? Should you be wearing them? If you wear them, are they even helpful? And I think, I'd say that he was a little bit more of a visionary here. And he said, you know what, it seems like the world's going to change. I know you and I walk down the street now, and it's kind of a creepy image of everybody wearing face masks, a world that none of us could have predicted a few months ago. But he was nimble. He saw the trends. He reached out to his supply chain partners, and in a couple of weeks, after very little sleep, he was able to completely pivot. And now he's selling millions of face masks a week to, whether it's hospitality or he and I were talking the other day, and the state of Georgia is starting to open up a bit faster than the state of California, where you and I both are. Right. And you walk into a mall and they're just handing face masks. So I think that this trend is here to stay, at least for the foreseeable future.
Ah, that's awesome. Well, that's a great story, and that's I guess the learning lesson we can take away from here is just when you think there's the end of the line, you got to really unpack your situation and relook at what you can do, and look at your supply chain and what you're capable of. So, and if I'm understanding that message correctly, is that what your interpretation is?
That's exactly right. I think that while there's other businesses who have definitely severely been impacted, and it's an unfortunate situation, but I think the more nimble that you can be, the more you can really double click on, hey, what does my ecosystem look like? Who are my partners? Who are my customers? And in the specific example, he added some customers in addition to hospitality, who now, like, for example, right, at Clutter, we're still working from home, But as we talk to our HR team about slowly starting to phase people back into the office, we're saying, hey, we have to have an inventory of masks, because every employee that comes into the office, we have to provide this type of PPE to. And so he's, kind of saw that opportunity and said, well, hospitality was 100% of my business, but it doesn't have to be going forward. And so now I'm going to reach out to all my friends who work in corporations, who maybe are connected to HR teams, and maybe they need some of these things.
Yeah, makes sense. No, that's great. That's great. So I think, it's some interesting learning, and I think for the audience out there, what we always want you to do is think about introspection and digging a little deeper and finding those, because we are in challenging times. So we're going to have to find those solutions. But, based on your experience to date, and I know you've worked with a lot of different industries and things, what do you see going forward? What's the new modus out there?
Yeah, look, I think that until there is a vaccine that will be released to the masses, which, if you listen to the experts, folks like Dr. Fauci are saying it's going to take at least 18 months for something like that to happen. We've got some friends on the Corona task force at Merck who are also validating that. You can't will these type of things. You can't throw enough money at these type of things. There's just science that needs to happen, and unfortunately it takes time. So we definitely see that, one kind of trend that we're definitely seeing is that the office as we knew it is no longer going to be the same. And so, whether it's limited number of folks in conference rooms, or offices operating at 50% capacity, or a lot of startups kind of have these open floor plans, which will be very difficult to sustain, because as folks are in close proximity for long periods of time, it's kind of ripe for the virus to take over. So one thing that we're definitely seeing is offices are changing, and if you have a business that somehow is serving the corporate office arena, you have to be really thoughtful of what type of things what kind of equipment might change in the conference room, what type of additional services may be needed by these type of companies. That's one thing we're definitely seeing. The second thing that we're seeing is that the world will start opening up slowly, right? And we're already starting to see that in some of the states, even in California. I think today is the first day that parks are starting to open up, and golf courses are starting to open up. Thank God. That is important. Priorities.
I hear you.
And so as that stuff starts happening, I think that I would really encourage your audience. Look, this is America, and America is going to recover very, very strongly. We have always shown resilience. If you look at the history over the last couple hundred years, I'm not one to bet against the country, and so I think that the recovery will actually happen sooner than most folks think. And so make sure that while you are being disciplined with your business, meaning that maybe you're cutting costs. I know that at Clutter we've looked at every single line item on the P&L and said, hey, how far could we cut this? Could we cut it to zero? But at the same time, you want to make sure that you're not impacting your business in a manner where, as the economy starts opening up and your customers start coming back online, and hopefully new customers that you're finding come back online, that you're not able to service them, that you're kind of cutting too much is a problem, as well. So to kind of use a medical analogy, you don't want to cut all the way to the bone. You definitely want to trim some of the fat. I think that is important, and it's prudent to do in this environment. But make sure that your business is in pole position as the things start opening up in the next few months over here.
Awesome. Well, that's great insight. Well, Saad, this is awesome. It's great that you could take some time out for us. I know you're busy now with young kids at home and a full work schedule and plenty of new paradigms to deal with. But for the audience out there, we wanted to thank you today for joining us. We wish you the best. If we can continue to help in any way, please touch base with us. Our Facebook page is Open SoCal, or you can send us an email at opensocal@gmail.com. Thank you, everybody. Have a great day, and look forward to seeing you at our next event. Have a great day. Thanks, Saad.
Thank you.